This video is part of the GRESB Assessment Training Program. It will cover how to complete specific aspects of the Infrastructure Asset Assessment Performance component using the GRESB Assessment Portal. We'll go through indicators aspect by aspect, providing guidance and examples of how to report on each indicator in the assessment portal. For an overview of the structure of the indicators in the performance component, refer to the lesson titled Asset Assessment Performance Component Structure. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to complete the aspects health and safety, employees, and customers in the performance component of the infrastructure asset assessment. After this lesson, we recommend that you take the lessons on other indicators in the performance component that are relevant to your entity. The first aspect in this lesson is health and safety. There are 4 indicators in health and safety. The first is health and safety of employees. Only answer yes if you can report all of the mandatory metrics in the performance table. The scored metrics in this indicator are lost time injury frequency rate and total recordable injury frequency rate. These are scored equally. These metrics are calculated automatically. Lost time injury frequency rate is calculated by dividing the lost time injuries metric by the hours worked and multiplying this by 1 million. Total recordable injury frequency rate is calculated in a similar fashion, but uses total recordable injuries instead of lost time injuries. To obtain full points for the indicator, entities should provide targets for the reporting year and a future year for the scored metrics. Note that the targets for these metrics are not calculated automatically. The second indicator in this aspect is health and safety of contractors. The tables here are identical to the previous tables on employees, but of course the data here relates just to contractors. The third indicator in this aspect is health and safety of users. By users, we mean people that interact physically with the asset when they use its services. For example, public transport passengers. This is distinct from customers, which is a broader set of stakeholders because some customers do not interact physically with an asset, like consumers of electricity, for example. Entities should only answer the question on whether they can report on health and safety of users with yes if they've assessed the values for all of the mandatory metrics in the performance table. The mandatory metric in this indicator is fatalities, and the scored metric is total recordable injuries. To obtain full points for the indicator, entities should provide targets for the reporting year and a future year for the scored metric. Note that the targets for this metric are not calculated automatically. The last indicator in this aspect is health and safety of the community. The table here is identical to the previous table on users, but of course the data here relates just to the community. The next aspect is employees. This aspect has 2 indicators. The first indicator is on employee engagement. This indicator is split into 2 parts covering employee training and employee satisfaction monitoring. For employee training, the mandatory metrics are the percentage of employees who received professional training and ESG-related training in the reporting year. Each of the ESG aspects included in the training is scored. The second part of this indicator covers employee satisfaction monitoring. Entities can obtain points for reporting the percentage of employees covered by a survey and the types of metrics used in the survey. Surveys conducted by third parties receive more points than internal surveys. The second indicator in this aspect is inclusion and diversity. The scored metrics in this indicator are the gender ratio of governance bodies and the gender ratio of all employees. Entities should provide percentages for the number of individuals that identify as men and women to obtain points. The last aspect with social indicators in the performance component is customers. There is 1 indicator in this aspect, which is customer engagement. Entities can obtain points for reporting the percentage of customers covered by a survey and the type of metrics used in the survey. Surveys conducted by third parties receive more points than internal surveys. Thank you for taking the time to complete this lesson. We hope that it helped you get a better understanding of the asset assessment performance component and prepared you to complete this component accurately. We recommend that you take lessons on other indicators in the performance component that are relevant to your entity next. If you have any questions, please contact the GRESB Help Desk at gresb.com/contact.